Welcome back to the Real Estate 401k show. I'm your host, Mike Weinstein, alongside Justin Frederick and Ryan Gerdes. It is a Friday, so it is story time. And we want to encourage you to text the word story to 623-AZ-RECON. That's story to 623-AZ-RECON. We work with some of the most amazing listeners of our show and help put them on the path to, building wealth in real estate and home ownership. And we would love to include you into that family. And just in full disclosure, when it's my turn, my story is non-real estate related. But we'll get into that. So it's story time.
Oh, I'm excited to hear your non-real estate related story.
I love your stories.
Thanks.
If it's that good.
No, it's not necessarily that good. I've just been in Japan visiting my son for 10 days and haven't really been doing a lot of real estate.
Sure.
Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah.
I've been eating my way and massaging my way through Tokyo and Okinawa. So that was, yeah.
Tell us the story.
All right, so here I am. So
there I was.
So my son is going to college in Tokyo. He is worked out for his first semester 4-day weekends. And so he's been taking advantage of these 4-day weekends. He's
Smart boy.
I know he's been to Thailand, he's been to Singapore, he's been to Malaysia, he's going to Hong Kong next week. He was going back to Thailand because he loved it so much. And
Cool.
and so so as I was going out there, I wanted to take him to Okinawa. Okinawa's been one of those bucket list items for me.
Karate Kid.
I've heard nothing about, nothing but great stuff about Okinawa. So we also have heard nothing but incredible stuff about our friends to the north, how Canadians are some of the nicest people on the face of the planet, and that's an important part of the story. So Saturday, we're going to go up, we're going to take a taxi, and we're going to go up to this one island. It's a small little island off Okinawa, not very big, but it's got some beaches. So we go up there, and that sucked. And so now we're like, okay, well, let's go to this other island. So now we're going further north. We take a cab, and so we go up to that island. Well, I don't know. We didn't care for that so much. So now let's go to the third island. We are now an hour and a half away from our hotel, and the taxi drops us off, and we get out of the taxi, and we're like, shit, it's freaking hot up here. And I'm like, and I told him, I go, we'll get some suntan lotion when we get up there. Okay, apparently people in Okinawa aren't into suntan lotion. Really weird. So I'm like, well, we can't spend too much time on this beach. We're going to get fried, and your mom's going to kill me. So now we're sitting there and like, okay, let's order a cab. And you can use your Uber app in Japan. And we're now 45 minutes into this. We haven't seen a cab. The Uber app keeps timing out saying we can't, there's no cabs in the area. It's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We're an hour and a half away. And I'm now starting to get stressed out. And so we can see on the hill that there's a hotel. It's got this name. I forgot what the name of it is. So I'm going up to locals and using my Google Translator, basically saying, hey, do you have any friends that want to make money to drive us back down to American Village? And they're like, no offers. I'm like, dude, we're going to be freaking stranded here. So this guy walks by me, obviously looks like he speaks English. And so I engage him and just say, hey, you staying up at the hotel? No, we're, staying down in Naha, which is where the airport is, couldn't be any further from where we're at. And I'm just like, yeah, man, we are stranded. We can't get a cab, Any way that you can maybe take us up to the hotel and we'll have the hotel. And he's like, yeah, man, I don't know if I can help you. And I'm like, shit. So he comes back 2 minutes later, like he felt the guilt. He's like, all right, we'll take you up to the hotel. So we get up to the hotel. It's not a hotel. It's a freaking tower to with incredible scenes and stuff like that. Now we're freaking stranded. Well, he's in this car. He's got this rental car, him and his wife. And we hopped in the back seat to go up to the hotel, and we never got out. Like, we didn't really leave too much of an option. And they drove us all the way back down to our hotel, an hour and a half, with these incredible Canadians. It was fantastic.
God
That's
bless
my
the
Yeah, they
Canadians.
saved you.
Yeah. God save the Queen.
Well, you didn't give him much
That
of
would
a
have been
choice,
a long
but
walk.
I wasn't getting out of that. I wasn't getting out of that rental car for nothing.
jeez. All right, you up or me?
Go ahead.
All right. Gosh, particularly while you were gone, I mean, we had a lot
I'm
of
busy, boy.
a lot of listing, a lot of buyer consults, a lot of investing consults, and I had a particularly, I had one in particular that stood out to me. It was pretty emotional. So, guy calls me up. He says, "Hey, look, I'm from your neighborhood. I moved up to Montana or Wyoming. I can't never remember which one." But a mutual friend of ours said that you're the guy to talk to because I'm moving back down here, and I also want to start my investment portfolio. And I said, well, yeah, that's pretty much right up my alley. So let's meet up, go have a beer, and just talk shop. And usually I allocate for like an hour or 2 hours. We sat there for 5 hours. So he's going through a rough time. He is a very, very successful guy. And then a few years ago, he got in a pretty big car accident, and for all intents and purposes, he's a quadriplegic now. There's still some function here and there, but for the most part, he's got his mind about him, but not much of the physical part, which is emotionally taxing enough as it is for me, because I love to help people out, of course. So he and his wife are no longer going to work out, and right after his car accident, there was a big settlement that was paid over to him, and so there's a couple $1 million that's kind of just sitting in this account, and he wanted to use it to buy a primary and then also start putting it into the market and investing. And if that isn't emotional enough. Most people, and this is not necessarily me trying to toot my own horn, but just how most people wouldn't have put the type of thought into it, and he hadn't, because and I don't know this, but from what I'm being told, is that when it comes to personal settlement funds, in the event of a divorce, those funds stay with the individual and are not split between the two. So I didn't know that, and so as he was coming down here, he said, I want to use some of those funds in order to buy the roof over my head. And I said, okay, well, being that I don't know a whole lot about, Social Security and disability, et cetera, when it comes to those types of funds, what I do know is that the moment that you take funds out of that account and then use it to buy real estate, that in the state of Arizona, we're a community property state. And so you're going to need to be extremely careful about when and how you use that money, because it could turn into something to where she would be legally half the owner. And so I'm giving you a lot of the broad strokes here because, again, it was a 5-hour conversation with a lot of detail to it. And so we both kind of walked away with a tear in the eye, because he was like, man, I would have sat in front of 100 different people in your position, and 99 of them would have encouraged me to start buying something right away because I have cash and et cetera. And you're actually over here talking to me about getting this thing done right, and
protecting
it could be months before we transact, and I can't imagine anyone else would have wanted to help protect my investment as much as this, rather than just trying to run off and write a contract. And so that made me feel really good that he recognized that. But it also made me recognize, like, damn, dude, like, we have it so good, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like we truly have we've got so many good things, and for him, it was just a car accident, and he had so many good things going for him, and it was just taken from him like that. And so a lot of really bad shit followed that, and he's trying to dig his way out of it. So just a strong dude.
He's so strong. I mean, I had the the opportunity and the pleasure of speaking with him as well. And I mean, just coming away from the conversation, the thoughts that were going through my head of how he's still so strong and willing to push forward.
Yeah.
Not only from being quadriplegic, but can you imagine becoming quadriplegic and your life is just falling apart in front of you because
becoming one as an adult. You've
Right.
had your whole
and he's
you know.
he's extremely successful.
Yeah.
But he's very strong-minded.
Yeah.
And I mean, it just shows how strong-minded he actually is
Yeah.
with the conversations we had. That was.
Well,
incredible.
I would say with Ryan, I think one of the, couple of the takeaways on the business side of this, it's. I think you made the comment that there might not have been a lot of people who would want to explore these options and so forth. I don't think that's the imperative part of what you've done. It's the fact that you thought about it, and how important it is to choose wisely who you're going to work with and represent you. And because it's not a matter of whether I think there's a lot of people or not that wouldn't have wanted to go down this road and have these discussions with them. It's how many people or how many agents out there would have just even thought about that. And then second, the part of the story that you didn't throw in is now we're talking about a variety or a couple different attorneys that he's going to need to engage. And I think it's one of the greatest things that as a group here that we bring to the table for our listeners and for our clients is we have that bandwidth and we have that network, and almost instantaneously now he is being introduced to the right people.
Yeah, man. And these people care too.
Yeah.
On top of them being extremely competent, they care. So I'm grateful that he reached out so that we can do that. Because are there other people out there that care? I know that there are. But like you said, having that foresight and being able to kind of go through all the what ifs with it. Honestly, like early on in my career, I probably wouldn't even thought of that. I probably wouldn't even known to think of that. But unfortunately, we've seen situations not exactly like this, but similar.
Well, as real estate wealth managers, this is what we do. We're constantly, our mind works differently in the sense that we're constantly strategizing and we're constantly trying to not only help people build wealth, but part of helping people build wealth is help protecting it, and protecting those assets. And it's just a mindset.
Yep.
Good job, man.
Thanks, brother.
All right, Justin, what about you, buddy?
All right, so I got to speak.
You got to follow that one.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, mine's not that good, but it's pretty good. I talked to an individual that lives in Missouri. He's retired, lives on Social Security and a small pension. So happens we were talking about insurance earlier. His insurance premium went up double, and he happens to be in an area where there's a lot of tornadoes, so a lot of insurance companies won't insure him. So he's kind of pigeonholed into this insurance company because they're really the only ones that can insure him. But he wasn't planning on all the inflation when he retired, and he can't afford to live. And he was basically calling to do a cash out refinance so that he can sit with this money and pay things as they come. But he was at the point where he's like, if I can't do this, I'm just gonna have, his house is free and clear. He was just gonna get rid of insurance. And I'm like, it's just not a good idea.
Not an option, man.
Yeah.
Not if you live in Tornado Alley.
Yeah. So I was just dwelling on it for a while. I just didn't think, first of all, his house is worth $45,000. Not to say that that's a big thing, but I can't do a mortgage on it based on high costs, and I couldn't. I couldn't charge him. We have basically a standard closing cost with this whole thing. We'd be coming out of there $4,000 for standard closing cost, 10% of his 10% home, and basically he's limited at 80% on what he can take out. So got off the phone with him, and I just couldn't stop thinking about him. ended up connecting him with somebody that does. I don't know why it didn't come off right away for me, but ended up connecting him for somebody that can do a reverse mortgage on his house. So, yeah, we set him up with a reverse mortgage, which is
That's a
the
great
big thing.
option,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, his house is paid off. But the big thing about the reverse mortgage is it's just going to be set up to pay for his taxes and his insurance as they come due. And then also it's going to give him a line of credit that's going to build based on what interest rates are over the life of, over his life.
Cool.
So he's never going to have to make a payment again. His heirs are completely happy with it because they were worried about what are we going to do with him. He's going to get rid of insurance and his house is going to go away through one of these tornadoes or something, and then we're going to have to put him in our house. Well, this way he's got insurance.
Everybody wins.
Everybody wins. So it was really cool. Well, last night he texted me a picture of this giant hail coming down. And he's like, man, I hope my roof gets trashed so I can get a check. But he's in good shape. So
Good for that's great.
yeah,
man.
that's a pretty cool story.
right.
Cool story. Nothing like Ryan's, but I love it.
Well, at the end of the day, if you're obviously you're listening, who you work with does matter. Creativity, strategy, compassion, empathy, all of those things do matter. And we would love to make you part of our story, and we'd love to have a conversation with you to help you in whatever your needs are when it concerns real estate. And we'd love to help put you on the path to building wealth in real estate or helping you strategize your next step. All you got to do is text the word STORY to 623-AZ-RECON. That's STORY to 623-AZ-RECON. All right, Friday. It's Friday, Ryan.
It's
I think
on.
you are up.
I am in the spotlight. And so Halloween was yesterday. And so now we are full swing getting ready for Thanksgiving.
I can't wait.
So and this I love this time of year. It's the weather's nice here.
I can't wait to go get my firewood.
Oh yeah.
Hit the links once a week. It's good times. And so
This is why we live
as,
here.
as we're getting ready for Thanksgiving coming up, and I know I normally don't do food because I'm usually relying on
Because you're not Mike.
And I know Mike's going to take care of any type of food subjects, but what is your favorite turkey preparation? So, I mean, most everyone has turkey on their Thanksgiving table, so you've probably seen it all, right?
So for me, I love somebody that smokes a turkey pretty much halfway, and then cooks the rest of it by frying it.
Yeah.
And it's just so good. You can still taste the smoke, and the frying it just makes it that much more juicier and tender,
crispy
on the outside.
Yeah.
It's just so good. That's my favorite. And then my first time having that last year, good old Nick.
Yeah.
I was about to say, I literally was about to interrupt you, and I go, "You're just trying to kiss Nick's ass right now, hoping
makes
he's
the-
listening
he
because
makes the
that's
best turkey,
exactly
doesn't-
what he
am I
does."
wrong?
I have never had it.
Oh, it's incredible.
Yep.
I'm old school. You know what the secret is to a moist turkey, though?
What?
It never fails. Now, sure, everybody gets salmonella poisoning, but undercook it, and it's moist as hell. That's all. That's the secret to a moist turkey.
Yeah, by about 8 to 10 degrees.
No, first time I've been married. I'm coming up in June on 25 years of marriage, and I think it was my second or third year into marriage. It was my turn to cook the turkey, and my father-in-law gave me this photocopy of a recipe of a turkey, cooking a turkey in the oven, and it gave you, all the instructions for the broth and the gravy and so forth. And I have never, in the last 22 years, ever deviated from that. I don't fry turkeys. I don't smoke them. I only get to cook a turkey typically once a year. And so I frickin' love basting a turkey. I love that every 20 to 30 minutes, pausing the football game and opening up that oven and realizing I forgot to take off my eyeglasses, so they all get steamed up, and that aroma and that smell that rushes into my nostrils and just basting that sucker. So I'm just old school, lather it with a bunch of butter and seasoning it, because it's all about the broth. That's what it comes down to. So hey, I'm willing to share that recipe. If anyone wants to text the word turkey to 623 AZ Recon, that's turkey to 623 AZ Recon, and I'll send you that recipe. If you want to join Justin at Nick's house, just text the word Nick to 623 AZ Recon.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
So if you've ever heard us talk about Thanksgiving at my house, then you know that I did away with traditional Thanksgiving probably about 15 years ago. So we use all the same traditional ingredients, but we do a different spin on it. So one year we did South American, and that was I toot my own horn. It was my favorite turkey preparation. So it was a slow roasted turkey, where we fill in the skin with butter and did all those fun things. But because it was South American, I did a lot of different other spices that you probably like cumins and corianders and obviously a ton of garlic, but we stayed away from the sage, the thyme, and the rosemary. And then we did green chili, so it was green chili, and then so shredded the turkey. I'd use the leftover broth to moisten it, and lots of green chilies and a lot of those South American spices, and then hand made some tortillas and made green turkey enchiladas with a red mole sauce with like guajillos and ancho chilies. I put very little chocolate in my mole sauce because that's about the only part of it that I don't like, but I understand why to put it in there, keeping it rich and kind of creamy. So didn't put in a whole lot of chocolate because that's also the biggest complaint that people have about mole is
Too chocolatey.
Too chocolatey, yeah. So I was able to regulate that to make it just perfect, and so that was probably my favorite. And then lots of different cheeses on it. It was money, dude. So
Sounds good.
I made up the recipe and I made it up on site. So there's
no recipe.
There's no recipe.
Oh man! All right, yeah. Maybe we ought to the three of us ought to start doing a deal like on Black Friday. The three of us meet somewhere and we each bring a portion from what we've prepared, so we can taste what Because dude, I'm locked down on Thanksgiving, and
For
so
sure.
I would love to come over to your house. And I know it's always an open door, but I'm locked down. But I want to try what you do, and so maybe we ought to.
Maybe we just go to Ryan's house after.
No, dude. Or Friday afternoon, bourbon and turkey leftovers, or something.
Well, this year is gonna be a little bit different. We're doing a massive seafood and turkey bake and boil. So it's gonna.
That's a good idea.
It's gonna be a fun one. So instead of frying a turkey, it's gonna be a bunch of good, boiling water with all kinds of different spices in it. We're gonna do obviously all the typical boil stuff, but then we'll finish, the potatoes on the Blackstone and do oysters and clams and mussels and shrimp and turkey sausage and pork sausage, and it'll be a good one.
Well, and a lot of people don't realize, and I know we've talked about it probably every Thanksgiving, but the Pilgrims being from New England, it was lobster.
Oh, we're doing lobster too.
But that was the true Thanksgiving meal because could you imagine lobster being considered the bug of the sea?
Yeah.
And they were just plentiful and I want to go back to those days.
Yeah, it was like what poor people ate. And now it's like,
Yeah.
All right, well, we'd love to make you part of our story. We'd love to have a conversation with you about building wealth in real estate. All you got to do is text the word story to 623 AZ Recon. That's the word story to 623 AZ Recon.